All right, guys.
What's wrong with that?
So, with all of the news coming out of DC, the loss of Henry Cavill, we know how much society loves that. You take a guy who loves playing Superman, a guy who loves fans, who loves everything to do with making fans happy, and you replace him with Jar Jar Abrams and Ta-Nehisi Coates, who just hates America. It seems like a recipe for success, does it not, ladies and gentlemen? So this is an article from Bounding Into Comics. It says, reports suggest that Warner Brothers is still developing J.J. Abrams and Ta-Nehisi Coates' Black Superman movie with Henry Cavill gone. I want to correct something that I made a point on originally that I completely forgot about. It slipped my mind when we were talking about this originally. They're not doing Calvin Ellis Superman. They're just race swapping Clark Kent.
Yes.
That's so much worse.
What I know
it's so much more pandery.
Yeah, so like Henry Cavill cut from The Flash, cut from future projects for now, at least.
Yes.
And Variety said James Gunn's script will focus on the character's life as a cub reporter in the fictional city of Metropolis. Audiences will encounter him meeting key characters like Lois Lane, insiders added. Additionally, Variety sources said that the new Gunn project will not replace the previously announced J.J. Abrams' Ta-Nehisi Coates Superman. So whether we get a movie that is about...
They're both bad ideas.
Yes, whether we get one about journalist Clark Kent, played by a white actor, or we get a movie about... some version of Superman who is not Clark Kent but happens to be black for no reason, we're still not really seeing Superman return to the big screen.
In the chat, Serge X says Superman Asian now. Well, that's already been done because what's his name? Dean Cain is part Asian. Yes, he is.
Really?
So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's technically already been done. Adventures of Superman and Lois.
I didn't know he was Superman either.
Yes, he was.
And I didn't know Ta-Nehisi Coates was doing a Superman thing. Where have I been?
You know who Ta-Nehisi Coates is? Like, if you guys don't know who Ta-Nehisi Coates is, he's just awful.
Can you tell me where you get the idea that he's anti-patriotism?
Well, he has the famous quote after 9/11 where he refers to the 9/11 first responders as less than human.
What?
He says they weren't.
When was this?
How much do you know about this, Mary?
2000 and
I saw allusions to it, but no one ever said the quote.
Oh yeah.
What's the quote?
Just,
2000. It was when he was promoting his first book, right? So it
something like that.
So yeah, he says because he was living in New York at the time, and he doesn't exactly say that. He says that they were less than human to me. In his characterization, because a lot of it is talking about, like, look at America worrying about America problems. And there was a lot of people at that time that were talking about that there was a certain amount of, like, anti-Muslim backlash in New York City post 9/11 because, the media, thanks in no part to the media.
How are the first responders responsible for that?
And he's
did
also...
he really say that?
Yes, he did.
I'm looking for the quote now, actually.
He also wrote an extremely anti-American run of Captain America, which is hilarious to give a guy who was like, it's one of the reasons people hate Marvel so much. Hate Marvel Comics, not Marvel movies. Marvel Comics have been awful for years, though oddly enough, DC ended up being worse. DC used to be better.
Wasn't Ta-Nehisi Coates, didn't he write the one where Jordan Peterson was Red Skull?
I don't know if that was his run. I think he might have been on that one. Yeah, the Jordan Peterson is Red, or it's Red Skull who has his own 12 rules.
Pretty much, yeah.
I'm getting tired of these villains being written as replicas of Jordan Peterson who are nothing like Jordan Peterson.
Stop making me like the villains.
You really tried it, Olivia Wilde.
Also, they should rerun that comic and redo it with Jordan Peterson's, like, his two-tone suit that he's been wearing with the red and the maroon and blue suit. That feels like a villain outfit to me.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what he's leaning into. Hail lobster, as him and Michaela would say.
So far, what do we know about this Black Superman movie other than that he's black and that is incredibly boring?
He's already said in past interviews that it will discuss, because remember they have to make the comparison that Superman is an alien. I was like, that's not even really a fair comparison because he's not technically, and he's an immigrant from Krypton, I guess. But in modern Hollywood, we know that Avatar 2 will be far better at showing colonial undertones and not being as on the nose as I'm sure Ta-Nehisi Coates and J.J. Abrams.
Quote, by the way,
J.J. Abrams isn't exactly known for his subtlety.
Okay, so the Ta-Nehisi Coates
the Ta-Nehisi quotes right here. They were not human to me. Coates wrote in his book Between the World and Me about the emergency responders who rushed into the World Trade Center on 9/11. Black, white, or whatever, they were menaces of nature. They were fire. They were the fire, the comet, the storm, which could, with no justification, shatter my body. That's what he said.
I don't really get the context.
I don't really either get it either.
That quote.
Yeah.
What a quote.
So it says, there's little again. There's again little in the way of updates to report about his progress after nearly another full year has passed. The best thing we can say going forward is the same trade outlets that we're talking about. Ta-Nehisi quotes that this movie is still going forward. We're also saying that Henry Cavill is going to have an uplifting Superman movie. So maybe they're wrong about both. We can only hope that they're wrong about both. But it speaks to the fact that, look, I don't disagree, and I do believe that there's a certain amount of denial that the DCEU needed to be rebooted. I'm just really upset about Henry Cavill because he's the one that would have...
Why does it need to be this way, at least? Why do we need to go to the route of race swapping?
The Ta-Nehisi Coates and J.J. Abrams story would be an Elseworld story. It wouldn't be DC
I understand
canon.
that, but the whole point behind what David Zaslav and the fans wanted was for this universe to be less confusing. There shouldn't be 4 Batmans running around or 3 Supermans running around. It's confusing and it doesn't sell. And they know what people want. The Rock went on Twitter in that video saying Henry Cavill is our generation's Superman. He's the most important one to play Superman.
He was totally using him.
And then this is, well, of course he was using him, but they know to use him because they know that people want Henry Cavill as Superman.
Yes.
And then this is the outcome we get. It's actually... It is enough to drive someone crazy. And I saw nothing but negative feedback for this. One person said, the racial hysteria has torn our country apart. The last thing we need is a racial Superman movie made by racial activists. The F is wrong with you, James Gunn.
Well, how about this? Beyond just that, beyond who's making it, you can't make this movie... You can't make that movie a hopeful, happy Superman movie because racial politics will inherently play a role in it. You can't not address it. So it will automatically suck joy right out of the project. There will be no joy in something like that. Even if you try, you can put all the soaring music you want into it. You can put all of the, cheesy Hollywood highbrow dialogue in there if you want. It's still going to feel like a modern interpretation done through the lens of racial politics. And that's anti-hopeful, unfortunately. Politics in itself isn't not a hopeful thing to be a part of, so I don't think it works.
Even the Black Adam movie, as quiet as you said it was, had its own anti-colonial or anti, I guess this narrative of resistance
Anti-NATO.
Politics in conduct. It
was definitely anti-NATO and anti-UN. It felt like
had messaging like that I felt also reduced its interest for me.
Yeah.
And for a lot of viewers.
But at least it makes more sense with that character. It doesn't make sense with Superman. It doesn't.
What is the argument for race swapping Superman? What does that add to it?
It doesn't add anything to it.
Because I see people responding to this, people who are black fans of DC saying I don't need you to race swap Superman or any of these traditionally white characters to make me feel represented.
Make a Steel movie.
Henry Cavill did a great job as Superman. Wouldn't you rather go with someone who is well loved unanimously? People want him to return to the screen, and it's not forced. And anytime you race swap, it's forced. You can't get that out of your mind that a boardroom of people talked about this and its impact and the ESG score that they would get out of it,
Why don't they just if they're look? I go back and forth because I do think that there needs to be a hard reset, given the fact that there's just so much baggage connected to the DCEU. But I do believe that maybe if you kept one, you keep Cavill, introduce Steel, bring Shaq back. That's what I say. Bring Shaq back. No, okay, maybe not Shaq. Get John Majors, whatever. There's a bunch of actors that you could get that are just or get Michael B. Jordan. I guess a lot of people say that he's overrated. I don't necessarily agree with that. I like Michael B. Jordan.
I kind of like him too.
But there's a lot of things you could do there that would work better than just race swapping characters. It also kind of proves that David Zaslav isn't all knowing. He's just a budget. He's just cutting the budget with a machete. He doesn't actually have a pulse on what people want.
Even he would know from a few clicks on Twitter that everyone who is engaged with DC news right now is unanimously asking for Henry Cavill in a Man of Steel sequel. That's all that I saw. And it doesn't take that much work to see that.
Yep.
And now James Gunn's like biggest mistake is being as vocal as he's being on social media.
That's a big problem right now.
Getting into spats with people, making comebacks, wanting the record to be set and clear all the time, no matter what. Like, not everyone is going to listen to you or know every little detail. Like, even I saw him responding to the worry that Gal Gadot has been booted from the role of Wonder Woman, and then he responded to this comment and said, "I'm not sure where you're getting that we booted Gal," and then also makes no further clarification on what they actually did. He only says, "We're not doing this, we're not doing that." But what are you actually doing? What ideas are going into development?
Well, we're talking over the time span of less than 2 weeks. Like, give me
but
a
he's
break.
already turning this into
talking.
more of like a PR dumpster fire. So he made this thread. He said, "One of the things Peter and I were aware of when we took the job as heads of DC Studios was a certain minority of people online that could be, well, uproarious and unkind, to say the least."
He's talking about Snyder, fans of the Snyderverse.
Well, I couldn't tell because some of the quote tweets are saying this is about a minority of Snyderverse fans, not Snyderverse fans as a whole.
Yeah.
So he has plausible deniability there. He continued, "Our choices for the DCU are based upon what we believe is best for the story and best for the DC characters who have been around for nearly 85 years. Perhaps these choices are great, perhaps not, but they're made with sincere hearts and integrity, always with the story in mind. No one loves to be harassed or called names, but to be frank, we've been through significantly worse. Disrespectful outcry will never, ever affect our actions. It's not disrespectful to just ask for what you want and be dissatisfied when you're being told that you can't have it."
And it's the downside of social media, right? Like, you could very well avoid this by not addressing the rumors and at least not start taking questions until you actually have something substantive to provide people to look at. Then let them, instead of letting them judge you on your ideas and what they think their ideas are, put something out so they have to judge you based on what you're releasing. Then you control the flow of information. Because if you put something out first, then anything else they say to the contrary, you just be like, "Look, that's not what we're doing. Judge this. I put this in front of you. Judge this."
And
right
not
now,
only that, like, he has his ego wrapped up so much that he's responding to Ray Fisher's drivel about like what comments you made or didn't make about Joss Whedon. And he's like telling Ray Fisher that he has his Twitter set so that his old tweets delete after a certain period of time. So
Every
it
few
seems
months,
like he was walking back on his statement about Joss Whedon, but he wasn't. And it's just like, who freaking cares? Why do you need to always clear the record 24/7?
Yeah,
you have a really busy job, right? Like, get off your phone.
Yep. He should not be. And then they're also talking about the fact that they believe in my biggest complaint from the beginning was like, he shouldn't be directing any movies. He shouldn't be writing any movies. He should be in charge of the direction of the projects, but he shouldn't be the one writing or directing any of this stuff because he's going to play favorites, as you would if you have
Concerns about nepotism are rising.
So, amazingly, Amelia Harcourt will likely survive all this because the actress, Jennifer Holland, is married to James Gunn. Funny how that works, right?
And then people are also mentioning his brother, Sean Gunn, who has been in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies.
Well, and Peacemaker, John
other
Cena.
Marvel projects.
John Cena will likely survive because Peacemaker was the product of his Suicide Squad movie and his vision. So those characters will live on because he's going to want them to stay part of the universe. But I don't know if I necessarily buy that. If you're going to quote that you need to get rid of all these great actors because you're doing a hard reset, then do the hard reset. But you don't get to pick and choose which ones. Or if you do, at least, like I said, make something first, give us a trailer, give us set photos, anything, so that you can steer the discussion towards what is being made, not what other people think should be made.
But he's kind of pushing back on the idea that he's doing a hard reset.
Yeah.
Just so that he can have the exceptions he wants.
That's almost worse. Like, like getting rid of Henry Cavill sucks, but makes sense if it is a hard reset. But getting rid of him when you're not even doing that.
Getting rid of the actor we know as Aquaman.
Yes.
The actress we know as Wonder Woman.
Yes.
And like other like big changes, and then keeping your favorites.
You know who seems to get out of all of this is Shazam. He nobody talks about him at all. Like he just gets left out of it.
That's kind of because like the movie has to come out.
Yeah, but like nobody's talking about what's going to happen to Zachary Levi as Shazam. He's just going to be left alone.
It's assumed that he's left alone. That Ezra Miller is left alone.
Well, no, it's like what he's doing is he's just not making enough fuss. He's like, maybe if I just stay real quiet and still, maybe if I don't say anything at all, they'll just leave me alone and I'll be left to my own devices.
Yeah,
that's the niche you got to find. Like make enough noise and be successful enough that you make money, but don't make so much noise that you draw attention to yourself. Mm-hmm. That's like I
feel like DC is gonna have a big ugly year next year,
and they're gonna get rid of Ezra. I think that what they'll do with Flashpoint Paradox is in the Flash movies they'll get rid of all of them except for the ones that he wants. But I think Ezra's gone. I think Gal may stay.
Okay.
We'll see about that. I think she may stay, but they'll do it without.
The rumor is that
Jenkins.
she's not going to get paid what she wanted to get paid for the third one.
Yeah. Well,
so she might walk away voluntarily.
That is when these actors have to put their money where their mouth is and talk about, well, did you actually care about inspiring young women? Did you actually care about the social message of your character? Like, oh my God, I'm inspiring so many people who look like me or are my same
gender. Who have
the
same genitalia.
Or do you really just want to make a lot of money? Because if you walk away from it because you're not making the same amount of money, I question your motives. I question whether you actually were doing it because you had strong... Believe it or not, color me shocked that they're not all actually amazingly principled people.
I mean, I wouldn't fault Gal Gadot or Henry Cavill at this point for walking away permanently.
Yep.
Because it's embarrassing for their professional standpoint to be jerked around like this in the public eye after promising new projects to the fans.
Yep.
Like they should have at least been told to stay silent on it.
Yep. Like I said, Gunn just needs to learn to be quiet. Can you is there many jobs that you guys can think of? Like, is being loud and annoying on Twitter good for anyone other than politicians? And apparently actors. I guess a lot of blue check journalists are like that.
I was going to say being a quote unquote journalist.
A quote unquote journalist.
Yeah, ones that like to get banned.
Does that happen to you? Do you see a lot of that?
I see a ton of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess because that draws attention, but that's almost like because you're in a written sphere, so it makes sense to be like that on Twitter. Yep. Because you're drawing people to your work. I guess what are they? Go look at my work on the Washington Post. It seems like you shouldn't even need to do that if you're a blue check journalist, but it's not even that anymore. It's like, go check out my Substack.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.